Bill Gates said, "I will always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job, because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it." What's a real-life example of this? An FTS production. I was working as a stock boy in a supermarket, and when we had to fill the milk cooler, people would bust open a 12-pack of milk cartons and put them in one by one. On my first day, I just placed the 12-pack in the cooler and cut the plastic off on one side with my box cutter and yanked it from under it, and the look of the store manager and the other employee who was training me was pure bewilderment. From that day, everyone did it my way. Worked as a laborer at a nursery one summer. Daily tasks included manually watering 15,000 plants each day. Put together a back of the napkin plan to build an irrigation system and spent the next few weeks building it with some money from the boss. That system is still running 15 years later and does all the work now. I did automate myself out of the job and had to find another eventually. Couple years later, got my engineering degree. I'm convinced engineers are inherently lazy people that will spend a disproportionate effort to make things easier. That is precisely what engineering is. We had to hold a thermometer in water in chemistry class. It probably was only a 20-minute experiment, but your arms get tired after a couple minutes and you can't let the thermometer touch the bottom of the pan or it won't get an accurate reading. So instead of sucking it up and just holding the thermometer, my lab partner built a contraption out of lab books and paper clips to somehow hold the thermometer in the water without it touching bottom. It was the stupidest looking thing you would ever see in a lab class, and our professor even walked over and said, "If it looks stupid, sounds stupid, but it works, then it isn't stupid." My lab partner and I joked that he wasn't talking about the contraption but the intellect of my lab partner. My brother-in-law spent a whole summer trying to figure out how to fix his sagging deck at the lake, which he could in theory, crawl under and jack it up. It would have been a tunneling project. It's a 60 by 60 area all along 2 by 6 boards. Massive. I sat there long enough with enough beers in me to come up with the idea of just cutting a square out of the sagging area, about 3 feet by 3 feet, jacking it up, then re-screwing down the boards. He paints the thing every spring with a roller anyhow, so it's not like the square cut shows up. He thought I was a genius. I was just lazy. The clerk was asked to bring 145 white papers into the office. He doesn't want to count the papers manually, so he printed 145 blank sheets and took them in. Smart, he used a machine that counts as one of its functions, but not the primary function, to do the counting for him. It's just enough outside of the box that most people wouldn't think to do it at all. Plus, as a bonus, they're all nice and warm. Warm and fuzzy. One of my favorite examples is Andy Kim. And I'd like to preface this by saying that, I don't think Kim is lazy, so much as a genius. Andrew Yao Kim was a singer-songwriter who became famous under the stage name Andy Kim. He achieved success writing songs for bands like the Archies, possibly most notably, Sugar, Sugar. After his success, he coasted for a while, until his record label dropped him for lack of output. At that point, he created his own label and cranked out hits like, Rock Me Gently. When they saw this, the big record labels then bought his label under the assumption that they would then profit off of the songs he wrote and performed. He then, very shortly, stopped writing songs and largely lived off the sale of his label. Work smarter, not harder. When Carl Friedrich Gauss, the famous German mathematician and physicist, was in elementary school, around 1784, his class was assigned the busy work task of adding all the numbers from 1 to 100, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and so on. This usually kept the class quiet for half an hour or so. 7-year-old Carl was sitting quietly with the correct answer, 5050, while the rest of the class was just starting, so the surprised teacher asked him how he came up with the solution. He replied that he added 1 and 100 and got 101. Then he added 2 and 99, and got 101, 3 plus 98 equals 101, and so on. He realized there was a pattern of 50 pairs of numbers with each pair adding up to 101. And 50 times 101 equals 5050. I wish I had this gift to be inquisitive about number patterns. I don't trust or follow my instincts enough in maths. I plug clocks in at midnight, so they're already set. Trip the main fuse in the house at midnight to do all the appliances to laugh out loud. Same. My granddad puts a battery in a stopped clock in at the exact time it stopped, so he doesn't have to tweak it. I had a manager in my 20s who detested the fact I turned a 2-hour process into a 15-minute process. It exposed how much lazier he was compared to me because when the higher-ups learned from other people at my level that I created the program, they took me aside and told me he took credit for it. They asked me how I felt about that. I told them what decisions they make regarding the manager's character is their decision. Just put yourselves in my shoes and consider it from that angle. They did nothing, and I took the concept to a competitor who invested the money into making the program more robust and proprietary. My name was line 1 on the patent and trademark documents, and I did well enough to semi-retire at 45. I credit Lee Iacocca for the inspiration. He went through a similar problem with higher-ups at Ford, and his answer was to take his brain to Chrysler, who would value it. In Australia, explorers discovered a mountain that was taller than Mount Kosciuszko, which was thought to be the tallest mountain in Australia. Rather than cause confusion by telling everyone a new tallest mountain had been found, they simply named the new mountain Mount Kosciuszko and renamed the original to something else. The German general, Kurt von Hammerstein-Accord, used Hanlon's razor to assess his men, saying, "I divide my officers into 4 groups. There are clever, diligent, stupid, and lazy officers. Usually, 2 characteristics are combined. Some are clever and diligent, their place is the general staff. The next lot are stupid and lazy, they make up 90% of every army and are suited to routine duties. Anyone who is both clever and lazy is qualified for the highest leadership duties, because he possesses the intellectual clarity and the composure necessary for difficult decisions. One must beware of anyone who is stupid and diligent. He must not be entrusted with any responsibility because he will always cause only mischief." Walkie-talkies. In every job I've ever had, these things make your day far less labor-intensive, if used correctly. Good God, I wish we had these things. Spent 20 minutes of my coffee break at 3 a.m. trying to call the plant in an area with next to no service so they could let me in the building, because my dumbarse left my wallet inside. Didn't get my coffee either. Plus, it's just fun saying stuff like, "Roger that," and, "over and out." Over means you're expecting a response from the other party. Out means you're done with the conversation. Over and out would mean you're expecting a response and you're done with the conversation. Don't do it. Exactly. I feel like, over and out, is some Hollywood BS. Thanks for enjoying these interesting ways to be lazy with me. I hope you learned some things. I know I did. For guaranteed access to more content, subscribe now. Over and out. Just out. Damn Hollywood.